Well, my name's Mike Edwards. I'm a winemaker and owner of Edwards Wines in Margaret River. We're a family-owned and operated wine producer in the Margaret River wine region. I'm a winemaker. My brother's viticulturist. We've been making wine now for around about 12 years. Dad bought the property back in around about 20 years ago now, and it was just an open paddock when he bought it. And so over the past 20 years, we've been planting and growing and getting bigger and bigger every year. So that's how we've ended up where we are. But yeah, look, there's not a lot of wholly family-owned and operated wine producers in Margaret River anymore. They sort of, it's a fairly tough industry, and it takes a lot of time and effort and energy and money to grow, to build brands. So we feel like, feel fairly unique now.
To do that?
Yeah, to be managed to get where we have. But we produce 6 wines, and we've sort of got two ranges. We've got the Edwards range, which is our more premium product. It's all estate grown. And we have our Tiger's Tail range, which are 2 wines, a Sauvignon Blanc Semillon and a Cabernet Merlot, 2 very probably well-known Margaret River variety, white blends, white and red blends, and the Edwards range, which is a Semillon Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, Shiraz, and a Cabernet Sauvignon. So really the wine styles and blends that Margaret River is known for, really that's what we like to stick to. So, but a little behind the packaging that we have in the market. Back in, maybe you'll see on the bottles, there's a little aeroplane, little tiger moth aeroplane, and on the white wines there's a very faint map of the world, and these little holes punched in the label represent various stops along the way. And the story behind that is, back in 1990, my father, Brian Edwards, flew a tiger moth aeroplane from England to Australia to raise money for Legacy, a charity that looks after war widows and their children. And Dad was a Legacy ward. His father was a Lancaster bomber pilot in World War II and died on a bombing raid over Cologne in about 1943. Dad was only 2 years old. So he never knew his father, and Legacy looked after him and his mother when he was growing up and gave him some amazing opportunities. And so when we were growing up, Dad always used to say, one day I'm going to buy a tiger moth and I'm going to fly it from England to Australia and raise money for Legacy. And of course, and that goes back for as long as I can remember. And, we're always going, yeah, right, sure, Dad. It was sort of going one ear and out the other. And then one day he came home, and I remember distinctly, and said, I've bought my plane and I'm going to do it. Yeah. So he did that in 1990, and he did it solo, and he did it without the aid of a GPS or anything. He wanted to do it how the old timers used to do it, so he did it just with maps and a compass the whole way back. So it's an amazing achievement. It's probably only probably in the last 5 to 10 years that it's really sort of hit home what an amazing feat it was, because it's a long way, and the little tiger moths don't go very fast.
No, how long did it take him to do?
It took him about 6 weeks.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, after a bit of a false start, well, all up, it took about 8 weeks, but flying about 6 weeks. He took off from England. There was a lot of media and hype surrounding the whole thing, and he took off, and he was only 2 hours into this big epic 6-week flight, and the crankshaft on the propeller snapped, and the propeller came off and went through his wing. And luckily he was just getting to the English Channel, and near the English Channel there's a lot of farmland there, so he was able to crash land into a paddock. And this is 2 hours in to this big epic flight, and anyway they pulled him out of this big ditch, and the plane was completely wrecked. But tiger moths are made by de Havilland. De Havilland are based in England, so he was lucky. He was able to get all the parts he needed, and they patched him up in about 2 weeks, gave him a new engine. And
okay. So he wasn't daunted by the...
No, I think he was at the time, because I remember we were at home, Mum went over to see him take off. Yeah. We were at home, and I remember the phone rang, and it was Dad, and I said, what are you doing? You should be, on a plane. You should be flying. What are you doing calling us? I've just had a crash. So I think more he was just disappointed and embarrassed that it had happened so early. But anyway, you know, obviously to his credit, and that was what Dad was like through his whole life. You know, very determined, and he took off and completed in 6 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, that story is really behind the packaging. So the tiger's tail, it's the tail of the flight of the tiger moth, with the little plane, and the map of the world with the holes in the label representing the stops that he made.
Oh, okay.
The
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, so anyway,
good.
we do make pretty good wine too. So there's a story behind it, but we do make good wine. So, but yeah, look, it's something that it takes such a long time, but we're really finding now that we're refining our styles, really working out, you know, the vineyard now, you know, the oldest vines now are about 17 years old, which is, you know, starting to get a bit of age to them, you know, for a Margaret River vineyard. It's, you know, some reasonable age, so we're really starting to hit their straps, which is great, and I think that really shows through in the wines now. So yeah, that's pretty much a summary of where we're at and what we're doing.
Thank you very much.
No problems.